The time has finally come to analyze the new 2025 Ioniq 5's charging curve at a DC fast charger. So today was my second attempt at running a solid charging test. The first time when I went to the Electrify America station in Saugus, Massachusetts, I made the mistake of picking one of the balanced chargers instead of the one single unbalanced charger at this location. So 2 of those 3 chargers are balanced, meaning if 2 cars pull up and are utilizing them, it will split the power dynamically between the 2 cars so that they can maximize their charging. And the 3rd charger gets full 350 kilowatt charging speeds. So when I went a couple weeks ago, I had the battery pack at the perfect temperature, down to 10% when I got there, but I plugged into one of the balanced chargers, and then another Ioniq 5 came in, and they were going to take the 3rd station, which would have been the unbalanced charger, which wouldn't have affected me on the balanced charger. But then for some reason, they maneuvered back into the middle position next to me. And when they plugged in, immediately my charging speeds dropped like a rock. So 8 minutes in, that charging test was completely ruined. But today, I did not make that mistake again. I got there at exactly 10% with a warm conditioned battery pack, and we ran a test and I got a charging curve to share with you guys. I'm not going to bury the lead. The new 2025 Ioniq 5 with NACS port in the United States does take 2 minutes longer to charge to 80%. At least when it is below 77 degrees outside. The reason I say 77 degrees is because based on this data, it seems that that is the point at which the battery will begin charging at over 250 kilowatts. Between 70 degrees when battery conditioning kicks off on the coldest cell in the battery pack, up until 77 degrees, you're below 250 kilowatts. And I kind of saw something similar when I tested the 2025 Ioniq 5N last year at an EVgo station. So when I plugged that car in on a relatively warm day last year, it did quickly ramp up over 240 kilowatts, which we aren't going to see here. So I will be running this test again once the temperatures get warmer, but right now we're still in early spring and it's still in the 40s, 50s, low 60s on a good day. So let's take a look at the charging curve for the 2025 Ioniq 5. So what you're going to see in this graph is that within 1 minute, we're already up over 200 kilowatts. It then kind of holds that, slowly increasing in power because the voltage is increasing. So at about the 3.5 minute mark, you will see it does shoot up to basically its full charging speed of about 250 kilowatts. And the thing that's really nice about the eGMP platform, it is going to hold that for a while. So from 3.5 minutes to about 9 minutes, it's at 250 kilowatts. But about 9.5 minutes, we begin to see it start stepping down in charging power. So it does decrease to about 180 kilowatts, sits there for about 3 minutes, and then it does decrease again down to about 160 kilowatts, sits there for, 2.5, 3 minutes. At about 14.5 minutes, it then decreases from 160 down to pretty much what it's going to hold for a while, which is about 106, 107 kilowatts. And we do see it hold that all the way through the end of this charging test to 80%. So it is good to see that this data does reflect what Hyundai is telling us of 20 minutes, 10 to 80%. Now, I just wanted to get the charging curve out of the way before we go into the actual video of the test for those who don't really care to watch all that. But I wanted to point out that if you buy a 2025 Ioniq 5 outside of the United States, anywhere where you have a CCS1, a CCS2 charge port, the standard charge port that you've had for years with your cars, you are still going to be able to charge 10-80% in 18 minutes. If you go to any of Hyundai's various global websites, they advertise 18 minutes. So there is something about the NACS charge port in the situation here that is limiting the charging power in some way that's leading to an extra 2 minutes charging time. It doesn't have to do with the battery pack capacity. They're using the same battery across the world. Unless for some reason outside of the US, they are making this 18-minute claim, assuming the battery pack is already starting at about 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which would lead to jumping straight up to 250 kilowatts. Maybe that's what's causing the discrepancy. Hopefully we can figure out if that claim has any legs once the weather gets a little bit warmer. What we see with the Ioniq 5N data is that the ramp down is a little bit more gradual. It's not these hard steps like the standard Ioniq 5. That could be just because the Ioniq 5N has a much more robust battery cooling system, leading to it being able to kind of hold those charging speeds a little bit longer. That's just my best guess. The Ioniq 5N was exactly 19 minutes, so it's currently a 1 minute difference between the two, and that could simply just be the fact that it was warmer out when I ran that test. So now that I've showed you guys the charging curve, let's jump into the actual test video with my commentary throughout. Nice. Pretty slow ramp up though. There's 200. It should start going up pretty quickly. We're a minute and a half in. We're already up from 10% to 14%. But that estimated charging time is still showing us 20 minutes from 10 to 80%. Hopefully we'll finally figure out once and for all if that is really the case here. Of course, a better test here would be charging when the battery is already at 75 degrees and it can actually just go straight to over 250 kilowatts. So we're gonna have to wait for warmer temperatures for that, but this is still pretty representative of the car's charge curve. You can see the outside temperature today is 51 degrees. The battery was nice and warm upon arrival. So we just hit 75 on the minimum, so we should start seeing this ramp up a little bit more. There's 209, 208, and in 3 minutes, we've added 11%. All right, we're ramping up now. There's 240, 245. So it seems like the battery min might need to be about 77 or so before it ramps up, not 75. Looks like we got an Ioniq 6, a rare sighting out in the wild. I do not see too many Ioniq 6s. Looks like they might be coming to charge. Luckily for me, I do have the unbalanced charger, so them plugging in should not affect me at all, thank God, like the last time I came and tried to do this. So there's 250 finally. It's been 5 minutes and 25 seconds, and we've added 23% state of charge. Again, with activating EA today, I had no success using the app. It failed, was declined. I made sure to not select my Ioniq 6 unlimited charging plan. So I ended up tapping to pay, which at this point seems like the only reliable way to start for me at an Electrify America station. I'm pretty much giving up on the app. So there we go, creeping up a little bit more, 253. So the voltage is slowly increasing as we charge, which is why you're seeing the power going up slightly. We should probably see about 260 kilowatts. Battery temps are up over 100 degrees now, but that's okay because we are already at basically 50% state of charge. There's 50 in 9 minutes. Okay, there's our first drop in the charging curve at 50%. We're down to 205 kilowatts, which is still impressive. And there's another step down to 180 kilowatts. So here comes the 10-minute mark, and we have added 44% to the battery pack. I didn't catch the remaining energy when I first plugged in, but I'll put that on the screen, how much energy we added in 10 minutes. So an ID4 did pull in here just about the same time I was charging, so I have a feeling we're going to be pulling out of here way before they're even close to an 80% state of charge. All right, we're coming up on 60%, still pulling over 180 kilowatts. So we've added 50% state of charge in basically 12 minutes. Remaining time down to 8 minutes, which would put us slightly over 20 minutes. We just dropped down another step down to 160 kilowatts. So I do have a feeling that on a 75 to 85 degree day, you'd probably be able to plug in and do 10 to 80% in 18, 19 minutes. I think the issue with this new 20-minute charge time is just factoring in that 1.5 minutes of getting the battery from 70 degrees minimum up to about 77. Now, I'm not really sure why they don't just make battery conditioning bring the battery temp up to 77 instead of 70. It's only 7 degrees more. that would maybe take another, I don't know, 8 minutes or so to get the battery up there. So kind of annoying that it just doesn't do that, but you're talking a charging time difference of 1.5 to 2 minutes. All right, you can hear the cooling system really picking up now. So I want to clarify something that some of you might notice on screen, and that is that the kilowatt readout on the driver display is different from the kilowatt readout from the data taken from my OBD2 port. The reason for that discrepancy is the data on the OBD2 port is what is going into the battery pack. What you are seeing on the driver's display is the power coming out of the charger to the car. And that difference there is being made up by the electronics of the car, but most importantly, the cooling system. At certain points here, once the cooling system ramps up, there's going to be a 4 to 5 kilowatt discrepancy between those two readouts, and it's basically all being directed towards cooling the battery. Battery max temps up to 126. You can see the coolant temps at about 84. So even though that coolant temp is still high, compared to ambient temperature, it's still significantly lower than 125.6 degrees. So the battery should start cooling off a little bit, especially as we start dropping our charging speed. There's another step at about 15 minutes down to 130. We were at exactly 15 minutes, and we have added just about 60% to the battery pack. We've added about 170 miles of range in 15 minutes. You can see we're just sitting now at about 110 kilowatts, which at 70% state of charge is pretty darn good. I think just for ha-has, I'll bring the charging level up to 90%, just so we can see if we get the Korean siesta here. If you don't know what that is, at about 80%, the charging speed will drop to about 4 kilowatts. Usually only happens for a minute or two. So we'll see if that occurs today with this new car. Now, those of you who have one of these cars in Canada or Europe with a CCS1 or CCS2 charge port, your cars are still advertised as doing 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, just like the 2021 through 2024 Ioniq 5s. So I'd be interested to see if one of you could do a test just like this and let me know if you can do a 10 to 80% charging session in 18 minutes, like advertised. I'm pretty sure that Hyundai's not talking out of their butt here, and that there is a 2-minute difference between US cars with the NACS charge port and everybody else. But it would still be interesting to find out for sure. So we are now at 18 minutes. This is the point where with the old car, we would be hitting 80%. And you can see on the screen here, it's estimating another 2 minutes. So yes, it does seem like, at least when the car's battery is preconditioned to the set temperature, it is a 20-minute charging session. So bit of a bummer that here in the US, we've lost 2 minutes in charging time. But it is what it is. It's a much bigger battery, so you can go a lot further, at least another 15, 20, 22 miles or so. But it's still pretty impressive that at 77% state of charge, we are still pulling over 100 kilowatts. Cooling system is still going gangbusters. Battery max temp seemed to have peaked at about 127 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 minute to 80%. We're at 19 minutes, 40 seconds. So that's going to hit 80% any second now. There's 80%, 20 minutes, 5 seconds. So yeah, exactly 20 minutes. Kind of funny how that turned out. Let's see what our charging speed is going to do. If we are going to get the Korean siesta, it's going to happen any second now. Still pulling 113 kilowatts. All right, there might not be any Korean siesta today. Maybe that is a problem that the new 2025 Ioniq 5 doesn't have anymore. We'll let it go to about 83, 84% and see if it happens. If not, I'm going to end this charging session. Starting to drop a little bit. And now we're below 100 kilowatts at 21 and a half minutes. But I don't think any Korean siesta here. So that's pretty nice to see. You can see my range estimate is pretty abysmal, just because it's still pretty cold out here in the Boston area, even though it is spring now. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this charging session and we will call this test complete. So there you go, guys. There is the charging test for the 2025 Ioniq 5. Again, I will be running a test when it's a little bit warmer out, so stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button if you're interested in seeing that when it does come out. Now that the weather's finally getting nice, I'm gonna start doing some range testing and comparing wheels and tires and seeing what kind of impact that has. I've got a set of Hankook Ion Evo AS EV specific tires that I've been dying to test out. I'm going to mount those on my 19-inch forged alloy Martian wheels, which are significantly lighter than the Hyundai wheels that are currently on the car. So that should give me pretty good range figures when the temperatures are good. So stay tuned for that as well. Have you guys been to my website, ioniqguy.com yet? If you haven't, be sure to check it out for accessories for your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV. I've got all sorts of stuff there, cup holder enlargers, glasses holders. The automatic door locking device is by far my most popular product. Basically, you shut all the doors, 10 seconds later, they will all lock. This is not a feature that Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis currently offers. And it's a simple install, it just plugs into the trailer light wiring connector, easy peasy. Consider becoming a channel member for as little as 99 cents per month. For $3 per month, you can get a discount to my store, as well as early access to all of my videos. As always, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.